Well, hello, everybody, and welcome to our 12th member meetup of the year. It's December 9th. So this is our December Slow Flowers member virtual meetup. And we've had such a great year. And I think I'll send out an email recapping all of the topics so everyone can go back and just click through and watch the ones that they maybe signed up for and then couldn't make it. So it's really nice to be able to record these expert conversations with our members, and we try to have a theme or a topic that is widely relevant to both flower farmers and floral designers and farmer florists. So today is no different. And while we're admitting people into the Zoom room, I want to just give a couple announcements. We have amazing giveaways today. Our two guests, Natasha McCrary of 1818 Farms and Sarah Wagstaff of SUOT Farm and Flowers, are both donating special gift packages of their value-added products. That these are things that you can buy on their websites, and they're donating to. We'll draw names of members who are in this particular session. You have to be in attendance to have your name go in through the drawing. And Nisha, do you want to advise people on what they need to do if they have to change their names or anything?
Yeah, no, just please include your business name or your Instagram name to your name on the side in the participant section, or if you can comment in the chat your business name or your Instagram handle.
Oh, great. We already have like a dozen guests. We had about 30 people registered, so hopefully we'll have a few people come in as we get started. So it's holidays. We're all busy. I'm so grateful for everyone who could set aside the time to come today. I'm especially grateful for our two guests who said yes. We had a third guest, Asha Lurie of Patagonia Flower Farm, and Asha had to cancel because of a death in the family. So we send her our love, and hopefully we'll feature her another time. But that means a little more time to talk to Natasha and Sarah. So we're going to have two presentations about value-added farm products. As most of us know, it's winter a lot of parts of the country. What do you sell if you don't have flowers to harvest? And these guests are super innovative in what they're doing to kind of round out the year and keep that season extended and keep their customers engaged. So first of all, I'd like to welcome Natasha McCrary of 1818 Farms. Hi, Natasha.
Hey, thank you for having me today. I'm very excited.
Oh, we're so happy that you could join us too. You, as Nisha said, you can go on a deep dive down to your Instagram feed and all the things you're doing, but it's really fun to meet you face to face here. And before we start, I just want to give a shout out. I wrote this book last year called Where We Bloom. Many of you have it, and many of you are in it, but there's a beautiful 4-page chapter about 1818 Farms in here. There's Natasha with one of her students at a workshop, and also some luscious photos. And she'll talk about some of the people and animals in the photos. We call this chapter Flora and Fauna. For a good reason, right, Natasha?
Yes, I think everyone loves the animals more than they love anything else. I've decided.
That's your secret sauce, right?
It is. It is.
Well, let's talk about 1818 Farms. Put it on the map so people know where you are, and a little bit about how you formed the business and what are all the facets.
Yes. So this is our 10th year, which I can't believe. I mean, sometimes I tell people, sometimes I feel like it's 20 years and not 10 years, but a lot has evolved over the years. And that's one thing I encourage you is, I think, to grow your business today as quickly as products are changing and people's needs. Mm-hmm. You need to be thinking about, I'm a lot different than I was 10 years ago. When we started 10 years ago, we were more going to be an agritourism destination and, breed this beautiful, adorable, smiling teddy bear, baby doll sheep. And then also we were growing a lot of produce and tiny bit of flowers. And over time, we switched to 100% flowers probably 5 years ago. But we're located in northern Alabama. So think of, if you know where Nashville is, we're maybe an hour and 45 minutes south of Nashville. From Birmingham, an hour and a half north. So a great location when you're thinking of agritourism and value-added workshops, because we have people who come from Nashville, who come from Jackson, Mississippi, who come from Atlanta. We have people who come from all over. So even though we're a tiny little town of 58 people, tiny, we're such a wonderful location for people to actually, gather at the farm.
That is crazy. I mean, that's part of your charm though, because you're giving people that country, day in the country experience, right?
Oh, it's definitely a day in the country for sure. I'll tell you that. But it's, I think that's what people like. Our tagline has always been life the way it used to be, because our town is compared to Alabama's Williamsburg. So like our home is 1820 is our home, and our kids are the sixth generation to live there. So it's truly like stepping back in time. You have the old timey post office where you just, I have a PO box 18 is where I get my mail. And you have the little bakery, and you have where you can rent a bike and ride a bicycle. There's no stop signs. There's nothing like that. So people love that they can come to the farm, not only enjoy nature, the beauty of the flowers, and see the animals, and of course, hopefully enjoy our products, but they're also going back to a time, I feel like it's slower, when people knew their neighbors and really connecting with each other.
Mm-hmm. So when did you you talked about having this broader farm focus, of course, with the baby doll sheep, but you were growing food and that sort of thing. When did you kind of rebrand as you are now? And what is 1818 Farms now?
Yes. So really, I think any of us who are here, you're always looking for more revenue, because that's the way you stay in business. And that it was great the first spring and the first summer we were in business. But then when the frost came, I had nothing to sell. I mean, and people don't want to come to a tour when it's 35 degrees outside. You know what I'm saying? So
right.
I really was looking for a value added product that I could produce myself and that I could sell all season. And like you said earlier, season extension for all of us. I mean, even if you're a floral designer, you're going to have heavy times where you're in weddings, and you're going to have, or you have Mother's Day, and you have down times. So I saw a huge downtime, and my husband, I've talked to you before, he's an MBA in finance. And if it doesn't make sense, our family's not going to do it. So I knew I had to come up with another revenue stream that winter to pay the electricity and to feed all the animals, to buy hay and chicken feed.
Yeah.
So, and luckily I found something I was passionate about and that I could tie things together. So that first year I had harvested so much lavender, and I debudded it and said, hey, I'm going to make a soak that people can soak in the bathtub. And then I'm going to make these little bath truffles. These actually have dried rose petals, but we had lavender in those. It's something you could, like a bath bomb, but skin softening. But I took it a step further and said, well, people love the farm. Let's tie the farm to the product. So this is one of my little pigs. Pigs dig for truffles. So I said, let's put our pig Clover on as the cover guy or the cover girl. So let's kind of bring it full circle, because one thing I think you want, and any of you will know, I think we're all trying to build brand awareness. Because if someone buys something from you and they can't connect, who did I buy that from? In the marketing world, that's not good. You want something that triggers them back to, hey, I wonder what that flower farmer's doing, or what that florist is doing. So I'm always looking. It's funny though, we're talking value added, but in our mission, and we have team meetings, I'm always thinking, okay, I have to think of the next thing that we can do at this farm with what we have. Like, you think of value, think of something that's importance of worth. When you think of value added, it's how am I taking that product that's of importance and worth, and how am I increasing the value in each stage? Right. And that's really what we're focusing on. How many products can we create from these flowers, or from, that's the basis of everything we do, really.
So how many products do you have on your website? It's kind of mind blowing.
There's a lot. And, we started out, what people really probably know us for is the shea cream. And that's like our number one seller. And it tied into one of our little lambs, Sweet Pea, and her little lavender wreath on her neck. And, we started out with maybe a handful, and probably now, if you took different variants, there may be, 150, there may be multiple. It's always evolving. Like, we just really dove into botanical eco printing and indigo dyeing this year. Well, the interesting thing is, let's say we produced 200 scarves. The challenging part for us was every scarf was unique. So
it's a different SKU almost in your database.
Yes.
Or whatever.
So you dive in, and it may be even more in depth. And so that's what we're constantly thinking of. And I know for us, our growing season's a little bit different in that, like, we didn't really we had an early frost this year, one of the earliest in mid-October. Typically we're harvesting way until November, but we had to have a way. So I really focused a few years ago heavily on, we have a room at our farm that's just designated for drying flowers. And that was my first idea of, okay, let's have season extension. And we work a part into our day in the farm. Every day there's a section where you're just harvesting for dried. I think the biggest misconception of people out there, and a lot of y'all may dry flowers, is you dry the flowers that are 5 or 7 days old. And you're never going to get the color that you want if you don't, you have to kind of jump all in. If you're going to be drying flowers, that has to be a priority. And I know it's hard for people because when you say value added at that moment, it's not adding value and you're taking time out of your labor pool. But like right now, we're seeing a lot of value in that.
So now you have this room of all the dried flowers, and that's sort of the raw material for these products you're developing.
Yes,
and you need to have those on hand to go to the next step.
Yes. So like I brought a few things today. Like I pulled this out of the drying room. So that, and I'm sorry, my lighting, this is just like a bouquet here that we're kind of, that, I think this is the only one we have left from this season of a mixed bouquet. Then we may go in and just break things out, and we do grab and go bouquets at the farm. So you can come in, a lot of people just want it in the vase already. So you can come in and grab. Probably the biggest thing that we do is we took these. The challenge for us is we have a farm and we have a team who's there. We have a production facility and there's a team who's there. We overlap, but we never had a product we could all really produce that meant something. And so we launched the botanical wax sachets, which has been just wildly popular a couple of years ago. That finally tied. I wanted something that everyone could kind of have skin in the game with. So they're communicating with us. They could care less when we're delivering subscription bouquets, but when we know we have to get the dried flowers. So someone says, "What's a botanical wax sachet?" So this is, and this will be in the little gift box. So let's see if I turn.
Yeah, I think I had a picture of that on the invite. So it looks so pretty, but I wasn't sure. Is it a candle or is it?
Well, it is. Okay. So I'm trying to hold it. I'm like, y'all,
we can see it.
Your camera. So this would be the sulfur cosmos. This would be delphinium.
Okay.
And this has like straw flowers and little pine cones. I'm trying to get it where my light is.
Yeah, we can see it. Yeah.
It is actually a beeswax combination of beeswax, and we take in either an essential oil or fragrance, and it's actually like a sachet you would put in a drawer or hang in a closet or a bathroom. Put it in your car. The thing that ties it all together, though, is the hanger is the sheep's wool spun. So we were never able to tie everything together. So
it's made from the sheep's wool.
Yes.
Oh my gosh, how cute!
And that'll be in the little giveaway box.
Oh, lovely.
So it's really cute. Yeah. So the wool spun, and that's your cute little hanger. So, some people will hang them like on their towel rack in their bathroom. And the drawer. I mean, there's just a lot of uses. And then once you're done, it's a beautiful piece of art. I have had people who will cut them and put them in a wax melter, but I wouldn't recommend doing that with the flower because I'm always very careful to put.
Yeah.
A fire hazard.
Liability.
But things come in and out. Like this one is Evergreen Path. So it's a seasonal. We have one called the Flower Truck. We have the one that had the cosmos in it was going to be Fall at the Farm. So we have some that rotate in and out. And so that kind of gives you also one thing I find anyone out there, if something is limited edition, people, it's the pumpkin spice. When they bring out pumpkin spice, people want the pumpkin spice latte. It's the same thing with this sachet. You bring out the sachet and they're like, "Oh, I've been waiting on that since," because we'll discontinue that in December. Evergreen Path will go a little bit. Things discontinuing out.
That's so smart.
It's also, making them not necessarily exclusive, but you know what I'm saying? It's also, you kind of don't want to have things that are offered all the time.
Interesting.
Which is another value. So, we're always thinking, so we have the dried flowers, we go there. Another thing we do is we make these little dried flower letters. So these you can hang on your wall. I'm trying to get my light.
That's so cool. So what is it made out of wood?
No, it's actually paper mache.
Okay.
And there's a little hanger kind of on the back. So it can be, and these we ship these all over. Someone bought last week, Stay Classy. We made Stay Classy for someone's, I don't know what it was for, but it's going in their house for Stay Classy.
Yeah. So that's a big order then.
That was a lot of orders. And I was the one who made it. And I was like, okay, I think we need to turn that off on the website because it took me a long time. Because if any of you know who work with dried flowers, there can be a lot of shedding, especially at this time. A lot of times we make those fresh and then we dry them, but I didn't have Stay Classy. That wasn't necessarily in my arsenal of things to smell. But she's really excited. So I need to get her to send me a picture. We also dove into this year. The big dive this year was pressed flowers. We've been doing dried for several years. And my dad was a botanist. And I'm sure all of you guys, I wanted to see more pressed. I love the pressed flowers. I bought a press online and I was like, I went to my dad in March. I said, listen, I am never going to be able to press enough flowers for this. Can you help me build me something? And he looked at it and he laughed. He's like, 80, this is like a Happy Meal toy. What is this thing you have? And I said, well, I'm trying to dry flowers. And he said, well, come with me to the barn. And so we go down, and in the deep depths of some bin, my dad pulls out his leaf and flower press from when he was at Purdue and as a botanist. And he had actually used it until he retired from the Tennessee Valley Authority. He did air quality specialist, and they had to press a lot of botanicals in case there were emissions that hurt crops. So I have all of his actual press, which really elevated my game when I could press more than 10 flowers at once.
Wow, that's amazing.
And he has been a big asset to that. Is the pressing to me. I love the pressing because it takes up less space. And there's more that you can do for other people. So I've pressed funeral flowers. I've pressed wedding flowers. And that's something you guys could be thinking about who are florists, and we either do them in, like, this would be just a little piece of art, here.
From a bouquet that was
from
pressed.
a bouquet. And the big thing is in the resin, which I will say is the most challenging thing that I have ever done.
This is new for this year, right?
New for this year.
Product.
Yeah. So this would be, and it was just featured in Town and Country magazine, which was like a huge, like, for us, in like
I
had
gift
no
guide.
idea. The editor said, I guess she got one. I have no idea, but hopefully y'all can see that.
Yeah.
Can you see that? Okay. So we do a charcuterie, we do a rectangle, and then a round, and then coasters. But this is I've done a lot of things. This is the hardest thing I've ever done because their resin is not forgiving.
Yeah.
And any of you who've worked with it's a lot of bubbles, and I'm an OCD, a perfectionist. So getting that through that where I do not have bubbles is a big thing. And you can really ruin things if you dive too deep into that. So that's a great way to preserve, and it's UV resistant. So that has been for us. I had expected it to be popular, but I had no idea it was going to be this popular.
So UV resistant, it means the flowers probably will stay color fast, or they won't fade.
Yes.
Wow.
Whereas what I do, I just did a special piece for someone in their home. They wanted, I think it was 10 by 10, like the one I showed you on the board. And I told her, you need to get museum quality glass, because if you just go to Hobby Lobby and get that, even if it's not in direct sun, you're wanting something that's going to preserve it longer, so that's kind of why you want to be, and all resins, just like anything else, when we make products with essential oils, all things are not created equal.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of trial and error. And I think even when you have more humidity, less humidity, that affects it too. But that, for you guys, if you're interested in that, is a great way. The number of brides who contact me, and part of it for us is I have to really be selective in when we use them, because their flowers are going to take a lot of time to press. You have to also, realize this does take time. So I tell people, in the summer months, and we put the presses in our drying room, and we have a dehumidifier running in there, and it's hot. There's no heat and cool. It's dark. We could dry things in 2 to 3 weeks, but we did a bouquet maybe mid-October. It's taken a lot longer, and the slower it dries, the more you could have mold or discoloration. So, and you're going to have failures in that. We have things, sunflowers are very difficult without shattering. We've learned a lot with this, but this has been a lot more popular than I had expected it to be.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, let me ask some questions about building your market and pricing, because I know you sell wholesale as well as retail. Can you talk a little bit about, you had to kind of just dive in and experiment to find a channels to sell through, right?
Yes. And that's what we started out, we do market in Atlanta. Now the resin pieces we don't wholesale because it's just too much labor. We would have to charge, even with us, what we charge, if a piece is 135, 160, give it some perspective, a gallon of resin is $100.
Okay.
and depending on how much it takes. And then the time, as all of you guys know, I'm not preaching to the choir. Like a lot of people just think it takes no time to dry anything or press a flower. They don't realize, it may take me for one wedding bouquet, one person just pressing 8 hours.
Yeah.
So
And
a lot of that,
the custom pricing has to be much higher than
much higher.
just the general products that you've
Yes.
developed.
However, if you're able to, that is a very specific customer. I think in anything you do, you're looking for all of you guys out there. We all have specific customers, and most of the customers who want that piece of resin, they're willing to pay it. Now, of course,
Okay.
I have people who'll be like, "Oh, I'm not going to pay that. That's ridiculous." Yeah, I mean, but you're going to have that. Anyone who's out there who's a floral designer, you tell them how much a wedding is, and you think, "Oh my gosh!" I mean, I remember the first wedding I did, and I don't do weddings anymore. After I did it, I'm like, I just gave this away for free. What was I thinking? I had no idea. But yeah, you're finding your channels. And what I think is for us, the wholesale Atlanta market has been really big. If you're also selling wholesale, the Fair Marketplace, FAIRE, it's an online platform. That was a game changer for us. We're in around 550 stores, the bath line. And it's just, as COVID changed for everyone, a lot of people still aren't going to in-person markets because they learned I can shop online.
You're the first person who told me about the Fair platform that emerged during COVID because people weren't going to these big gift shows, right?
Yes. And so that really changed the game in anything wholesale that you're going to offer out there. But it's finding that person and finding the right fit. And for anyone out there, you just have to have a website. You need to have social media too. And I'm a big person who preaches all this, but okay, pretend I came to you came to me and you said, okay, you can start your farm on my property. Here's $10. You can do it for 10 years. Well, for all I know, I don't own that real estate. You could change your mind. And I tell people all the time, the biggest mistake I see people making is not building their email list and not really diving in. I don't even care. It's the most simple. You think it's juvenile. You have to have a website and be building that email list. The email list, without the email list, our success would be a tenth of what it is today.
Mm-hmm. And when did you start building your email list?
At farmers markets 10 years ago.
Okay.
Even if it was like
just like
handwritten
on a clipboard kind of thing.
Yes. So now, we run our website through Shopify and you can opt in, but like, let's say I just post on social media, hey, we're running our workshops are open. I'm going to get some people. I send the email out. It's going to be sold out in 24 hours because those people also, they value what you do or they wouldn't be on that email list.
Yeah.
And another thing is I don't send a million emails out. I'm sure y'all are like me. I just opened the email. I'm like, could Gap send me one more email? I'm sorry. I'm getting like 5 a day. I mean, to unsubscribe. I mean, I send emails that are of value, whether it's a blog about something that's happening at the farm. It's very minimal. I mean, I tell people when they sign up, when we did like little in-person markets, if you get more than 15 emails from me in a year, I've been kidnapped. Come save me because I don't have time to write 15. You know what I'm saying? You're going to get emails it is truly important or you're not going to hear from me.
Yeah. But you're using that to drive the retail business to your website versus the wholesale side of the business.
Yes, because I am a big believer in none of us need to put all of our eggs in one basket. If we had all of our eggs in COVID in the wholesale, we went from how many orders, 1,000 orders a year to 0 from wholesale stores. I mean, to none. I mean, there were like 3 stores probably ordering because so many stores were shut down. And those were the ones who were figured out curbside or how to ship it. But literally, I mean, our revenue was nothing without the online, we would have not survived.
That's really when you saw the value of that direct to consumer sales.
We always saw it and we knew it was there. It's a fine line when you're selling wholesale because stores get mad that you're selling. But I try to tell accounts, let's say I meet them. I know a store from Tallahassee. They're like, we just don't like you sell online. I'm like, listen, I don't have a store in every city in the United States.
Yeah.
I have to be able to reach people. And, you have to, there's a balance when you're working with a store owner of them understanding for me to stay in business, I have to have that revenue stream.
That makes a lot of sense. And how many people in Tallahassee are going to go find you online? If they see it in the shop, they're probably going to buy it, right?
Yes. They're probably going to buy it. And it's very difficult. Sometimes it's a balancing act. with the being a retailer and a wholesaler, because I don't want to cannibalize their market either. They have to
Yeah.
stay in business, but at the same
Yeah.
time, I have 10 employees to pay. If I only depend on them ordering wholesale and I don't know their cash flow, like I don't know about y'all, but I have stores who've been in my top 20 for years and they're 30 and 40% down this season.
Yeah.
They're just, people aren't buying, they're more high-end stores that sell cookware or,
Mhm.
higher end clothing. People are more intentional on what they're buying because of the economy.
Yeah.
So you can't always, sure, if they want to say, I'm going to commit and spend X $1,000 with you this year, but you can't, you have to balance it out. So,
Yeah. So it sounds like you're not pivoting, but kind of really putting your emphasis on supporting the existing wholesale channels you have, but
Mhm.
really building that relationship with your people who are going to find you online through and sign up for your newsletter. And
yes. Yes.
yeah, you can communicate directly.
It's making things interesting. I feel like, I'm sure y'all are too. This time of year for me, my social media it's terrible. It's terrible, y'all, because we're so busy at the offsite. I have so much to show at the farm. There's lambs and flowers and all sorts of things. It's hard here when we're just in production.
But in the winter, you're kind of more focused on.
I'm more focused on that. And I always feel like, oh, is there not as much as they would like to see? But I feel like I need to be better at that. And I think all of us probably could be better at that. And that's a goal of mine in 2023 is to really, when we launched our YouTube channel, it was more because COVID, I couldn't have workshops, but I wanted to be able to still teach people because I get joy out of that. So that was a reason too. And it's another way. You may think what you do is not that important. I mean, there's so many things every one of us here today do that we may not think is important, but someone would like to know how to do that.
Yeah. Yeah. Listen, we're going to wrap up in about 5 minutes with Natasha. So please put your questions for her in the chat and we'll throw a few things her way. And then we'll also have a roundup at the end with both of our speakers. I guess to Natasha, this is, if you don't feel comfortable talking about this, feel free to tell me, but like, how did you finance this? Like you had your farm and you were selling at the farmer's market. That's kind of a small cash flow versus going all in on product development. Did you just start slowly and
start slowly? Yeah.
Okay.
We've never taken a loan.
Wow.
We're very, which all of y'all know, I mean, it's different for us. The fourth quarter makes or breaks you.
Okay.
I mean, you need all these, luckily these value added, the workshops, the bouquet subscriptions. We had an open farm day this year. We had, I think it was like 5,000 people that came. It was I just said, we haven't been open since COVID. Do y'all want to come? And then 5,000 people showed up. Our farm is not that big, y'all.
In a town of 58 people.
Oh yeah. The town will never let me be open again. They were like, where are all these people? But I have to tell y'all, I was so worried because I want for people to see social media and me be what they see.
Yeah.
And I get very nervous as far as not when I'm having a 15-person bloom stroll bouquet workshop.
Yeah.
Are we what people see? Every person was gracious. We charged nothing. We let everybody come in the gate. They walked around. I held a baby lamb for like 8 hours. My husband and I did. They walked through the flowers because we had Mother's Day. We have spring, a lot of our cool flowers are in, and everyone was really gracious. But so many people who did find us during COVID on social media that I feel like I knew, like from Ohio, we had Texas, New York, we had people from all over. They had the best time. And I think sometimes that's the hardest part is just putting yourself out there. And there are people who can be mean sometimes. That day, not at all. But, I kept saying, I'm so worried. My husband said, it's free. Why are you worried? We're opening our home to people.
Yeah.
But it's getting people there and to see things. But I also think it's offer, like I said, back to the whole point of this is value and what can we offer? I think probably what I'm the most proud of this year is our eco printing. And I started in 2020. In COVID, not that I really have downtime, but I'm like, I'm going to learn how to botanical dye. And so I studied and studied and studied, and I had a lot of failures in that too, but I brought a few pieces. This is like my favorite piece that you can see.
Wow,
it's
that's gorgeous
background. And then it's all the botanicals from our farm.
Wow. That's beautiful.
We did, this is more of an eco print. We took the black walnuts from our farm that we have a big tree there, and we, use steam this is basically, we're steaming.
Wow. So that's why you're getting the actual botanical, authentic shape of the leaves and all.
Yes.
You're using
and
the
then like this would be like the Coreopsis sulfur cosmos, and it was back dyed with, it's really more green. These are all habitat silk, but it's like, you're getting more green, and these have been washed a lot. And then I love, like, this is just straight indigo, a scarf. So we did a
Wow.
lot of indigo this year.
That's amazing.
And that, I will say, it was well received too. And I was nervous about the price, but when I know how long it takes to get these pieces ready, people, they paid and didn't. We actually, these don't, of course, mine don't have that, but we sewed a stainless tag that has like the tilde 1818 forms at the end that can stay on. And then we had a debossed box. We did beautiful packaging with a vellum that has, I may have some up here, vellum that has the 1818 farms on it, just to make it, kind of more unique.
Wow. That's beautiful.
I may open it this one has fill. It doesn't have the vellum. So this may be when we were testing it out, but had a custom vellum printed. So that was really good too. But I think that's, we have to evolve too. And we do like the jewelry. I've got some indigo press jewelry, and I think we've kind of ventured into that. Like,
So
I'm always doing different things.
We need to encourage people to spend time on your website. There's been a couple sourcing questions that I'm going to ask you, and then we're going to pivot over to Sarah. We still will have time to talk with Natasha at the end. Do you feel comfortable talking about your source for resin and also your silk wholesale source?
Yes.
Are you buying pre-made silk scarves, or are you making those yourself?
No, I actually am going, these are all Habitat. They're 8 millimeter, I think. And then, I go through Dharma, and now I ask the people, and if this is, because sometimes you get the scarves, they're all hand hemmed, and I'm like, okay, there's a hole in it. And they're like, okay, these come from a village in China, and these ladies hand sew the hem, and, they're very good, because I can't go through, I can't scour 500 scarves at once. Like,
so it's called Dharma, D-A-R-M-A.
D-H-A-R-M-A. And so they're in, and they have some neat things, but they have that they told me, like, this is what they've told me, that these come from, kind of
like fair trade.
Fair trade. And then, they're all hand hemmed. And so they're very good, because sometimes I will go through and you find a hole or there's a miss something, because like I said, we only are scouring like 36 to 40 and mortgaging them. That's what takes so long. It's the scouring and the
in terms of your production.
Yes, because we're doing so many at a time. So there, and then the resin I like, this is me personally, is the Unicone, or Uinicone. I have used craft resin. I like it too. I think it's Pudeo. And then there's a fourth one that I did not like. I can't remember. So it's not up there. But for me, and we have a lot of humidity, and that's the thing. You think you're getting it really going well, and then all of a sudden you're like, where does this haze come from? What happened? But the Unicone, like a unicorn, but it's Unicone. For me, that one has worked beautifully. It's a little thinner. The color stays, true after, some you can immediately pour and you're like, is that a yellow haze to it? I mean,
So a lot of trial and error then to try.
Yeah, but I honestly would Unicone all the way. I would go them.
Okay, that's super.
And I buy them, you can buy from Amazon, but I buy directly from their website. And if you buy a certain amount over, they'll give you like 15%. There isn't a wholesale option. They call it wholesale, but it's really just a discount
for volume.
Them. But for me, that's,
that adds up.
Good. And what I would start with, if I were y'all, is start with coasters, because if you mess up, and you're probably going to mess up. I mean, if you could see I've thrown in the trash the first pieces we did.
That's interesting.
Do that. And one other thing with the resin, just be sure you don't see this a lot. You need to wear a lot of personal protection equipment. Like we wear
face masks,
respirator. We wear actual respirator. We wear gloves. We have in a room where it's ventilated. So don't overlook that. That's another whole thing, is I think sometimes people think, I just top this in my home and do it. You just need to be careful when you're doing it. So.
Oh my gosh. Okay. Our heads are spinning. Thank you so much, Natasha. And I think people may reach out to you personally for individual questions, but I think we'll have time before we wrap up I want to ask you and Sarah to both share some tips. But right now let's pivot to our next guest. And Natasha, thank you so much. We'll give you our hand wave applause. And now we'll welcome Sarah Wagstaff of SUOT Farm. Hi, Sarah.
Hi guys. I'm so happy to be here.
I am so glad you're here too. And please tell everyone where you are and why today is so special at SUOT Farm.
Sure. We're in Burlington, Washington, which is just north of you, Deborah, about an hour, maybe a little less, in beautiful, beautiful Skagit Valley, Washington. And what's special about this month is this is our 2nd year anniversary of having a retail space here. And so next Friday, we'll be celebrating and having a birthday party, our 2nd birthday. Everyone is welcome. I'll have cake and it will be super fun.
Oh, that's great. And this is the same space I came to with my mom to do that pumpkin workshop, right?
Absolutely.
So you can
Yes.
accommodate, you're doing retail, but you're also doing production and workshops there.
We actually have just expanded. We just finished the expansion. So it's a big building, and I had split it half and half with my husband. And I kept expanding and kept expanding and needed more space. And he said, well, let me know the day that you need me to move out. And I said, well, it was yesterday. So let's get the move
Oh,
on.
you kicked him out of that other side.
And I have totally taken it over. And so I hosted my first workshop in it last Saturday, and the next one will be tonight.
Oh, how
And
fun.
so that is like the production side that can be messy, and for workshops and for staging things and projects that I'm working on currently. And then this is the retail shop that can just stay retail instead of shoving everything to the side,
Flipping it all the
making space
time.
for a workshop, and then putting it all back together after. Yeah, it's been a game changer. Just in the last month, I've been I cannot
Yeah.
believe it. It's so great.
That's-
So then we have more dedicated drying space and storage of things until they've shipped. And it's been
That's so
awesome.
cool.
Thank
Well,
you.
when I first met you, you were exclusively growing flowers and selling at the farmer's market, and you came out of food growing, right?
Right. I sold food at the farmer's market, but hardly any flowers. And then I started to transition into flowers and moved into wholesale. And then after doing that for a little bit, I realized I wanted to focus on the local community here. And so that's when I started developing this space here and having a little shop and a farm stand and serving my local community first. And then when I have excess, especially in the spring, summer, and fall, then I go to the wholesaler once a week with all of the excess stuff after I've filled all my local orders.
So when did products, like, I don't even know that is such a limited term, but when did you start creating something out of the flowers you're growing? It's sort of like what Natasha was saying, like, what do you do when the season ends and you've got all this, preserved material?
Probably just in my kitchen, starting to like make gifts for holidays. I would just, there's always stuff around. So I was like, this is really cute and fun and I can make it. So, my girlfriend, Anna of Nettles and Petals, made this really amazing herb salt. And I thought, man, that is so good. And I grow all of the herbs that she includes in that. I'm going to make some too. And so I started making that and gifting it to people, and it started catching, and it's by far my most popular and coveted and addicting product. So do not purchase it. It's too addicting. You can't live without it once you've had it.
Do you have any to show us?
I am totally sold out. I'm working on the next batch right now before the holidays. Yeah,
that's great.
It sells out in pre-orders every time I release a batch. So that's just made in our home kitchen. Since it's not a cooked food, or it's all just herbs that I've naturally dried and blended with salt. And it's so good.
So you don't need like a commercial kitchen license to produce that. Is that what
Right?
you're saying?
Just a cottage license. Yes.
Yeah.
And then after that, I started, I grow a ton of botanicals. And so I thought, what can I do with all of these, especially ones that I'm selling wholesale and you need to strip the bottoms off of each stem. All of that product I've already grown, and I've already invested time and effort into growing it, watering it, harvesting it. And now I'm bunching it all. And all of that product is just as good as the top, but it can't be in the water. And so I started just, especially like mint or oregano or things like that, as I was shedding the bottoms, stripping the stems, I would just pile it into a bucket and dry those, and then blend them into like a tub tea, an herbal soak for the bath. More as just like a sustainability practice. Yeah, I've already spent all of this time and effort. And so how can I get more reward out of that same product that I was already growing for wholesale?
Yeah, you're creatively composting, because it's not going into your compost, it's going into a product.
Totally. Yeah.
Brilliant.
Yeah. And then it's a shelf stable thing. So since it's dried, it can last indefinitely, and it's very fragrant and aromatic. And yeah, so I have those here. I sell them like a little tea bag like this. And then inside are Epsom salts and the botanicals. I don't know if you'll be able to see that.
Oh, yeah. Oh,
I have
that's
a bunch.
adorable.
Yeah. And this is peony and rose. peony petals and rose petals. And then this other one is eucalyptus and mint, just all different types of combinations for different things. And each one comes with a card of like what the botanicals do for the skin, for the body, for the nervous system, to help heal you or soothe you or comfort you or whatever it may be.
Are you finding that those are things that people will order online, or will they come into your store to purchase, or are there other ways that you're selling those?
I sell them bulk through one vendor right now, and that's been awesome. She has a pop-up truck that she sells all different types of bulk products, shampoos and soaps and things. And then otherwise, I just sell them retail through my website and through the shop. And people come in and they're packaged like in a little clamshell, so it's a perfect giftable. Comes with 2 little soaks in each, and it's great. I love that they're in the tea bag so that you can just stir them around the bath, or maybe in a foot bath or a facial steam or something like that. And you don't have to like fish out the bits at the end. It just stays in the tea bag, and then it's fully compostable, the bag and the botanicals. So you can, of course, dump it out and sprinkle all the petals around the bath water too, if you want to.
Yeah, you just need like a little strainer in your downspout.
Totally.
Olivia asked if you don't mind talking about your Epsom salt sourcing. Do you have a wholesale source, or is it just off the shelf? I don't know enough about that product.
Yeah, so far I've just purchased off of Amazon in those huge bulk bags, and they are crazy heavy. And so they usually comp shipping because it's such a giant quantity.
Oh, thank goodness. Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like ordering
I feel bad for the delivery person when they drop it off. I'm like, oh gosh, thank you.
But a large wholesale bag, I mean, you're not using a lot of Epsom salts. You're like using a quarter cup in every, or I don't know, maybe even less in the scoop, right?
Yeah, I'm not sure. I should probably weigh them. Yeah, but I make big batches at a time with all of the botanicals as they've been dried. And so I mix a batch at a time, and then it's every quantity is fairly consistent.
Are you finding this, now that you've expanded your studio space to have kind of a production space, maybe this is easier and will be the drying part of getting those botanicals, kind of something Natasha alluded to about the labor involved in drying, and you have to take that into account. Obviously, she's in a much more humid environment in the South, but you still have humidity in the Northwest.
Yeah, we're in a rainforest. Not so much the time that it takes, but to dry the product, but the time it takes to handle it, right? Because with fresh product, you're harvesting it, bunching it, shipping it off, or driving it down or whatever. With dried, you're harvesting it, bunching it, hanging it, then unhanging it, then bundling it or wrapping it, or however you're going to present it, shedding it, making it into product. So there's a lot more labor cost just in, unless you're just selling the straight bunches, but even then it's one extra step of touching it. And then monitoring humidity and things like that. So it does take quite a bit of extra time and effort, but it's a value add. It can last indefinitely. It's got cool texture and cool colors. A lot of them can still hold their fragrance. So I definitely think it's worth it. I currently use kind of the vertical ceiling space in this shop, and then some vertical spaces in the other side, but I'm still developing that. And if people have great ideas for how to mass dry things, I'm all ears, because I'm trying to figure out the best way for a petite, short person that's not having to climb up and down ladders all the time.
Yeah. Yeah.
Maybe like with a cleat or something where I can lower and raise.
Yes. Yes. Like a pulley system.
Charles Little has an insane drying room that I'm just so envious of. And I need the floor space. So I'm trying to get creative with the vertical and figure out how that will best work for us. And I'm sure it will be a work in progress, but Sarah, send ideas in the chat. Yeah.
Sarah, you're sort of in the small batch kind of artisan role. You haven't gone mass. You haven't gone like at the scale that Natasha's at. Are you comfortable where you're at? Do you think that that's a good balance for all the other things you have going? Because you're not that you're lazy. You work yourself crazy sometimes with all the projects you've got. Is this where you think you want to have your products fall in the mix of all your business features?
Great question. I feel like I have been streamlining over the last number of years, especially since I've had this space. I've been able to see what is profitable, what isn't. And like Natasha said, you need to be profitable to stay in business. Otherwise, it's just a fun hobby that costs a lot of money. and so I've been streamlining things and figuring out what I enjoy or what I want to have an employee work on. But I feel like very comfortable with where we're at and really excited to expand. Last fall, we purchased 66 acres, and that will, I don't know, 600 times
Expand.
expand
exponentially.
our growing space. And so we'll be transitioning to that new space over the next 2 years as we build a house and move crops and develop land and things like that over there. Stewardship is really, really important to me, and working with the land and honoring the life cycle of plants and of people. And so being able to use all of the bits of the plant that I harvest, it really like warms my heart in the value adds. I don't feel like I'm wasting much, and I feel like that there is so much life to give even in the death of a plant. So whether it's dried or whether it's like we make I don't make these, but I grow the flowers, and then I have a girlfriend that turns them into little lollipops and lemonade stir sticks and stuff in there. It's the cutest thing ever, and very simple, and a great like gift garnish.
tie. Yeah, it sounds
Yeah,
like it'd be
gift garnish or-
a great party favor or wedding favor too.
Totally.
Yeah.
For bridesmaids or for a baby shower. We have lots of families that come into the shop, and so it's always nice for them to have something. They might not want to take home a cactus or bulbs, but they totally want a lollipop or a sticker. And so to have stuff like that that's for the whole family and make it fun and exciting to go shopping with mom or dad and get a gift for grandma or something like that.
Yeah. What are your newest products? What have you unveiled for this holiday season? Anything fun?
I'm busy making garlands right now. I was spending hours and hours and hours, too many hours yesterday, making tons of garland. I potted up a bunch of bulbs to sell like as little centerpieces. And what else do I have? I just got a new shipment of, I partner with a bunch of other local women makers as well. So I don't create everything in the shop by any means. But I have an, excuse me. I have an herbalist that makes a lot of our teas for us. That's something that I would like to do in the future that I'm not doing yet, but I would grow all of the herbs and botanicals for it, and then find a partnership with a tea maker to make our own blends. We started a thing a couple years ago called Midday Murder, where I make myself.
You and I have been discussing this. I love it.
I make myself an afternoon cup of tea and just kind of reset and think about the day. And then I take the rest of the boiling water and pour it on the weeds in our driveway and think murderous thoughts to those things, my little midday murder, so that I can refocus and
so the water that's not going into your tea, you're using to kill weeds organically. And in that, are you okay? She's talking about murder and now she's getting in trouble, but let's see the logo on your mug. That's your logo, right?
Yes. It says Midday Murder, and it's got a little kettle pouring onto the weeds. So it's just little bits of time over time and something to add a little bit of delight into your life. And like I was saying, I like to be able to use as many parts of the product as possible. And so even water, it's a precious resource in so many parts of the world, and it's very abundant where we live, but I don't want to waste it. I've spent time and energy and natural resources heating it. And so if I make my cup of tea, then to use the rest of it to murder something feels really delightful.
Well, it's also building community with like you said, you're hyper local and you want to connect with people you see face to face. Sarah, I'm going to,
and it's free. It's accessible to anybody that has, I don't want there to always be a cost limit to participate, right? I would love there to be, anyone can get involved in nature and gardening and enjoying the natural world. And so if it's through death, by all means.
I'm going to do something really fun because you talked about teas, and I know Senia D'Ambrosi is on and she has a tea line. Would you want to talk with her for a minute and have her jump in and give some tips? Just Senia, are you there? Can we put you on the camera and just have you tell Sarah a little bit about your tea line?
Hi there.
Hey, so
Hi.
you have a lot of teas that you make on your farm, right?
I do, and it's some of them are. Hi, Sarah. Good to see you again. So I have a line of herbal teas that I really are a mix of things that I grow on the farm, and then some things that I bring in from other growers or on wholesale. And I've got 4 blends, And I sell them. I had been selling them as in these beautiful hand-painted jars that are dishwasher safe and were painted by a henna tattoo artist. But again, in an effort to try to streamline things and make things simpler, I've been selling more teas in just brown bags, the small brown bags. And I create these blends that have, I wouldn't say medicinal benefits, but soothing and health-oriented benefits. And they are usually a blend of 3 or 4 herbs. I start with a leaf base, usually, whether it be mint or lemon verbena or lemongrass, and then I add in florals. And just like Sarah, I include some information as to what each of the herbs are and what some of their qualities are. And I really focus on the energetics of the herbs, so that people who can learn about the herb itself, not just about what it does, but through the what it elicits in the body as it's being consumed.
Well, and then your website, Sweet Earth Co., we just put up on in the chat. So I'm going to do matchmaking and let the two of you talk offline. So thank you for sharing that, Senia.
A long time ago, my first year flower farming, I went out to Washington and I stayed with Sarah.
Oh my gosh, I didn't even know that. Oh, so you don't need me to matchmake. I'd love it. That's such a great.
It's always good.
That's such a great slow flower story. Thanks, Senia. It's so good to see you.
I will definitely be reaching out and we'll chat more. I'm super curious and I haven't any questions.
I've received some of her Sweet Earth Co. or herbal teas, so I knew I could put Senia on the spot. Before we wrap up, we did have a great question from Wanda about ordering the sachets, the tea bag sachets. Where do you source those?
I started sewing them and then quickly realized that's a nightmare. My farm name is Small Units of Time. So I am all about do what you can, start where you are, use what you got. But I don't got the time for that or the interest or the sewing skills. So I just bought them. I'm not sure. I'll have to look at my sourcing and I can type it into the show notes after or something.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then you have a rubber stamp to put your branding on the front.
I do. I had a really cool female artist hand carve the stamps for me. And so then we hand print each one of them with some nice ink so that it's fine for the tub. And yep, I hand fill them.
And I hope everyone heard Sarah say what SUOT Farm stands for slower so people can take it in.
Sorry, Small Units of Time, little by little by little. You can't do it all. Nobody would want to. And it's an unrealistic expectations, but you can do something. And so
I love that.
After a week, you're like, hey, I got some stuff done. I folded some laundry and planted some seeds and made dinner. And then after a month, you're like, all right, I got that whole area weeded. That's all right. And then after a year, you're like, hot damn, I'm a farmer now. Okay.
That's so great. Well, Sarah, stay on. We'll have you stay on the screen while we just brought Natasha back in. I would love to have you both touch on briefly product photography and your websites, because you really have, both of you have beautiful websites in your shop component where people can see what the product is. How do you do that? Do you have a studio, or how do you set that up? Or any advice you want to share?
We have, every once in a while, we used to have someone come in who would shoot for us, but then it just it's too much because, things are always changing. I have new products. So we just have a white paper background that we set up, and it's all about the lighting.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we know there's certain places in our production facility we can get better light. But one thing that I just purchased maybe 2 weeks ago, because now we're making, the scarves are at our farm, the products are here, as I bought a light box. And it was a big one. I think I could fit a dog in there. I mean, I try to get as large as I can because, I was saying, each scarf is unique.
You mean this one?
Yeah, it's similar. I mean, it's really big. It's big and it zips and has the 3 lights.
Oh, wow.
And it's great. Actually enclosed.
Like a studio.
Yeah, like a studio. So that for me, because we usually, most of our pictures are just on our iPhone, and it's just, there's a lot of functionality in there. It's just kind of learning what works and not works. And also really a lot of photo editing, because for me, the biggest challenge is that white background. I don't know about y'all, but sometimes you shoot and it's more gray. And, you know, that's the one thing I like for the backgrounds to look as close as possible. And that's hard because the light can be different. So I'm hoping the light box will really help with that.
But it sounds like it'll even things out.
Yeah, but I was taking a picture the other day, and someone who's new was like, "I can't believe it took that long to take a picture." And I'm like, "It does, but if you're on selling online, that's the only connection you have the customer. So you need to invest time, if you can, into giving, you know, the best product photography. Because if all things equal, if the picture doesn't look good, people probably aren't going to purchase."
Yeah. How about you, Sarah?
I just have 1,000 trillion million photos on my phone, and until I get the right one, I keep taking photos. So it's full of flowers and then a couple of my kid. Are
you setting things up in a little studio space by a window?
We have really great natural light in this window right here, which is south facing, and I wouldn't have expected it to be the best, but it's just consistent and kind of dappled. And then I have an old metal green desk that I love to take photos against because it's kind of a nice color, but gives me a little more structure than just a white or a black backdrop. But I did paint really strategically our shop with all white walls except the far back one. And so I can have those two color tones against each other. And then I have like a waterfall edge, like where the mini fridge and dishwasher and bank of drawers is butcher block. And so I have the wood, the black, and the white all close. And so I kind of just move things around as needed. But in the new space on the back side of this wall and the workshop side, I do have some backdrops that are like old vintage doors we've saved out of remodels. And one of my favorite florists who's on the call today is going to be working in that space with me. And she has what you were just describing, like a photo box setup. And she does a lot of photography for her website. And so I was hoping that we can kind of partner on that too. And she can teach me some things, and we'll play around with that. I sometimes will use a tripod. I have like a tiny little ring that's like this big that it's too washed out usually, but on a really cloudy day, that helps bring in just a little bit of supplemental light from the side or something. But yeah, I just keep trying until I'm like, yeah, that looks all right. That looks like what I want it to look like.
It sounds like you're both saying that, you know, take the time to do it.
I wish I had more photography training. That is something that
Well, we have a photography session planned for 2023 with two of our members who are professional photojournalists who have migrated, maybe kind of due to COVID, migrated over into flower farming. So we'll make sure we let you all know about that. Before one last question, do you have a source for the light box that you recommend, Natasha, or are they just on Amazon?
I just got it on Amazon. I'd have to look. I mean, I researched a lot, you know, just trying to read reviews and trying to see. And like I said, some of them you need to really read because they're tiny. And, you know, if I was shooting a tiny little ornament, but like some of the things are big that we're trying to photograph. So like a gift basket is large. So I can always message y'all, like email you and let y'all post it or that.
Charlotte can reach out to you. Yeah, that's great. Thank you both so much. This has been such an inspirational session. There's lots of participation, lots of questions, and I hope everyone, if you're looking for shopping ideas, check out SUOT Farm and 1818 Farms on their websites. I want to just close by saying it's December, our Slow Flowers Summit. Ticket sales for Early Bird continue through the end of the month. So if you're thinking about coming to Seattle, and the dates are June 26th and 27th of 2023, this is the month to take advantage of that $100 discount. And Karen will put the link, or I have got the chat, I think the link I can put in the chat. And then finally, before we wrap up, Tonali, our membership manager, is running this really fun greeting card exchange. And I would love to have her just mention that. She put the link just now in the chat. Do you want to just jump on, Tonali, and tell everybody what you're doing? Because I love that we're making connections in a new way.
Absolutely. Yeah. You know, Slow Flowers is very much a community, as I think this chat has like so wonderfully displayed. I've really enjoyed listening to this. So thank you to everybody who spoke today. But yeah, so it's a mail exchange. Basically, the idea is I just sent in the Google form. You can send in your name and your address. We already have some people who are in here have already joined it, which is really great. And it could be as simple as sending off your pre-existing holiday card if you're a holiday card person to somebody. You can make something really cool if you want, or if you have, say, like found mail, like maybe a vintage postcard or something like that of a floral destination, you can send that in. Basically, once you fill out the form, we're going to send you 4 addresses that you can send to. And in exchange, you're going to get mail as well. So it's just a fun way to, I don't know, fill our winter season with a little extra joy.
I love it. And it's the human connection versus the e-cards that we all send digitally. So thanks for that great idea. I'm excited to be part of that. Our next meetup, I will just mention before we wrap up, it's the second Friday in January. It's 9 a.m. Pacific, noon Eastern, and the date is actually, I believe, January 13th. Is that right? Yeah, Friday, January 13th. We have a really special guest. We are going to host Emily Ellen Anderson of Lola Creative. Emily is a coach for artists and artist branding. And so she comes out of the floral industry, but she's got a super diverse background. She spoke at our very first Slow Flower Summit, and she has agreed to do a session for us on goal setting for your creative business. So you will not want to miss that, and save that date. Happy holidays, everyone. And I love you all. And what a great session, Natasha and Sarah. You are so generous with your time and your talents. And we really appreciate it. And we'll share the replay of video of this so everyone can go back and get all those ideas and see some ideas of what to make and what to incorporate into your value added program. So thanks a lot. Take care, everyone.